Okay, we have a Lord here that's been in the scene for quite some time here. Really needing actually no introduction, actually. Lord Shaolin.
Yes.
Yes. So,
good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
thank you for coming out, sir.
Thank
you know,
you.
thank you for coming out. Of course, we got locks on the whatever, but my nigga on the trick. So, basically, we're here to talk about the scene. Like, how long have you? What brought you to the scene?
I came in around 2002. I was a college student. I got an invite from a high school friend of mine. I was on vacation, winter recess. She called me, hey, what are you doing? Nothing. You want to come out tonight? Sure. I had no idea where I was going until I got there. A little club in Harlem. You might have heard of it, Realm of Darkness.
Yes. So your introduction was to a party.
Yes.
Okay, so when you got to the party, what was the feel of the party when you got there? First time.
Yeah, first time. It reminded me of Blade, the movie Blade.
Okay.
All right.
I walked in, ultra security there, patting down, so I knew it was a safe venue. Walk in, it was a whole nother world. And that has been something that the new generation has been seeking, you know, trying to get back to that old flair. But when I first walked in, it was like, holy shit, where the hell am I?
So the energy kind of drew you to it, other than to learn more, other than drew you away from it. Because sometimes I invite like different coworkers and different people I know to, you know, to the parties and things like that, and automatically, yo, you crazy, you worship the devil. Have you ever got any of these things?
Oh yeah.
And how did you handle it?
Well, I've been a Buddhist for the better half of about 20 years now.
Us.
So when I walked in, it was almost as if I found a missing part of what I've been looking for. I was awakened in my early teens, like most of us are, but I had no idea that any of this existed, to be honest. So I was walking around without proper guidance, without knowing what was out there, until I found this outlet within the community, and then it just kind of took off from there.
So, and like some of the first people you met that helped you learn more into the society where you begin to grow, like.
Right. Well, when I first came into the community, like I said, I was invited to the party. My high school friend, her boyfriend at the time was a member of the goth. So
The goth.
as I went to her house, they were pre-gaming, and I got to meet Lord JP. I got to meet a lot of the original Nagath members.
JP.
Shout out to JP.
And we all went together. And the whole car ride going, the whole car ride coming back, it opened up a whole slew of questions that I had. You know, what does this mean? I had no idea, you know, the symbolisms. And, you know, JP answered my questions, but he also encouraged me. He was like, well, listen, get to know everybody and anybody. You know, put yourself out there, network, and that's exactly what I did.
Did he go through the form of the black veil, or did you pick up the black veil yourself?
That was a little after.
Okay.
A couple of months after, I realized there was etiquettes and there was codes of conduct, and I got into getting familiar with the black veil and the 6 traditions of Gotham and the Pax VAMPYRE, all the different etiquettes, and realized that this wasn't just a natural Halloween party that you can walk in and do what you want. There was codes of conduct. I observed, you know, people getting into strife in the club, and how they handled it wasn't the way it was handled in everyday clubs. It was something that you had to go, you had a facilitation of different people, and observing that for the first time, it was very odd. I didn't know what the hell I was looking at. But at the end of the night, everything was squashed. 2 people that were beefing in the beginning of the night were hanging out, having a beer at the end of the night. So that was an eye-opener for me.
So the fact that you stem from the Buddha practice or the Buddha religion, would you call that a religion? Would you say that better helped you be more open-minded to the environment that you was brought into?
It definitely did in a way. I've been energy sensitive since childhood, so what I observed there, I viewed it differently than just a goth party. I viewed a lot of people dancing and on the dance floor going crazy, but then I also viewed people off to the side, and observing their behaviors and their actions really told me there was something more about this than just aesthetics and dressing up and party and fangs. There was something behind, and I guess that's why the name Black Veil came to be, because there was something behind the veil.
Right. I kind of got a sense of a society outside of governmental society that we was all supposed to like follow behind and things like that. It was something like a sidetrack on where you could bring your own identity to to the scene and basically make it yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing, after that first initial party, I went to college upstate. I made it a habit of coming down every month on the Greyhound bus, traveling to 125th on the 6th line. It was amazing to see those doors open and to see a sea of hundreds of people walk in unison in Harlem.
Yes.
That was a sight to see. And the respect that carried when we walked down the street was amazing. I mean, you had gangbangers, you had all kinds of people in the street observing these crowds of hundreds of people, not questioning it. Just,
By people, you mean goth, right?
Yeah. And it was almost like, oh, okay, what the hell's going on? But nobody asked. Nobody got involved. Nobody asked. It was an amazing time.
How do you think hip hop kind of played on the society of vampirism? Because we got different hip hop artists coming out with logos, Vamp Life, and I'm sure they didn't see it until it reached Harlem.
Yeah.
So what do you think that?
Oh yeah,
that kind of spawned something as far as.
It definitely did spawn a lot of influences beyond just what we have here. What we have here is in a very eclectic community, even from day one. You have the traditional way of looking at what vampires may be and what you may think when you think of modern day vampires. And then you come to New York and you experience what we have here and the eclectic nature that we have here. You have people that you'll look at and you'll never know. You have other people that look like they're straight from the street. You have other people that, they do the whole Victorian thing, but the way Gotham does things here in New York, it's unlike anywhere else in the world. And it's because we have that urban connection. All of us grew up in the streets.
Right.
All of us came from that background. So we bring it into this. It's a part of our nature. A lot of people say, oh, you're goth. No, I'm not. I'm a vampire. How I choose to express myself, you might not notice me in the street. I kind of like it that way. I kind of like the fact that when you look at me in the street, you might not know unless I'm wearing what I'm wearing now. But that's where the twilight comes in. You have your day side, you have your night side, and it's important to keep that balance between the two. People that are able to show their beast 24/7, God bless. But some of us need to use more discretion than others. So, I mean, to answer your question in terms of how the urban ties into it, I believe it definitely did create a unique community here in New York.
A certain style, a certain fashion. Because I can remember when the urban, like the hip hop heads, they didn't wear skulls like we used, like when we was coming through with the skulls, the different things, and then they threw the rhinestones and everything on it, and turn it even more, to cater to like the different people that's into just hip hop or whatever the case. So they took the fashion aspect of it. So you've been in since what, the 90s?
I came in officially 2002. That was my freshman year of college, and that's when I was officially invited to that party. And then I stood Ronin from 2002 to 2005, and I took all that time to just kind of assimilate myself into the community, network, talk to different people, came across all kinds of leadership and talking to everybody, you know, and getting their interpretations. I've always been inquisitive. I wanted to know, you know, what makes this community tick, what's your interpretation of a vampire, what makes you a vampire. I asked all these kinds of questions, and we all know asking those questions as a newbie, people kind of like, whoa, 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 no.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. But it was questions that I needed answers to, because I'm not gonna be a part of something if I don't understand how it ticks. You know, and as I went, I understood the reluctancy. I understood why people were guarded answering certain questions. You had to garnish a certain amount of trust in order to get people to talk to you in that way. And that wasn't easy. They had to be comfortable with you. This is where the family aspect, you know, this community is very diverse and now is very large. But everybody here, one way or another, considers each other family. You know, so until you get to that point, people are not going to answer your questions the way you want them answered.
It's a certain comfortability that you see with a person when they wearing certain sigils.
Yep.
And I would like to get into that, like from your sigil now to where you started from here. If you could show this one and to...
This is the SVR Ankh, and then behind it we got the original Sabertooth.
Now I see you wrapped it in your spiritual nature.
Yes.
So,
well, pretty much to give you my background, I came in, once I understood how things go and understanding that you come in as a Ronin, a solitaire, I stood that way until I networked. I met everybody. I met Nina, Monet, Zilla, Isis, everybody, Father Vincent, everybody. I came across my sire at a Hidden Shadows party. I was introduced to him by an old friend of mine that I went to high school with.
can I congratulate you, sir, because everybody that usually starts off Halloween Adventure. I respect that. Okay.
Well, I did work in Halloween Adventure for a short time, so
no, we love Halloween Adventure. We all listen. Everybody took that path.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody took that path. You know what I'm saying?
I can honestly say things would have probably been a lot different if Halloween Adventure wasn't there for
Absolutely.
a lot of
Yes.
Absolutely.
So definitely, we definitely salute that. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. So when I met my sire, I didn't like him. I couldn't stand him. Arrogant, narcissistic, straight asshole. But I respected him. That in that 10-minute conversation that I had with him, there was something about him that I could respect. Later on, come to terms with the fact that he was the one I was gravitating toward. At the time, he had a bloodline within House Sabertooth Omega. He pretty much gave me some invitations. I got to know him on a personal level, and everything progressed naturally. I was ambush sired. About a year after I met him, I was in a meeting. At the time, I was under the assumption I was a visitor to the house. I had no idea that I was being prospected. I had no idea that they were watching me. The meeting had ended, and he turns around and he's like, "Oh, no, I forgot to tell you something. Shaolin belongs to me." I had no clue what the hell just happened. All I knew is talking to this man that was a give and a take. You had to accept an invitation when the invitation was given. He drove me home. Him and I had a chance to talk. At the end of that conversation, the decision was made. You know, and from that moment on, him and I became his childer, and it went from there. A few months after that, he broke off from Omega. He created his own house, House Sabertooth-MacPhee. And that's where I stood for 10 years. I stood very close to him. Pretty much he taught in such a way that a sire is supposed to double their children. So I made him double himself in me. You know, I wasn't going to just fly by and just go by with whatever he threw at me. No, I picked his brain to the point that I annoyed the hell out of him. But that created a very strong bond. At a certain point, I was elevated to Calme. From Calme, I was elevated to advisor, and then I was elevated to elder over a 10-year process. And that was not a slow, that was very slow. But he did tell me, the way you get elevated, you're going to make your footprint in this community. And not everybody's supposed to be elders. And now we have a community, unfortunately, that we have a whole lot of elders. But in the beginning, the way somebody attained eldership is a unanimous vote. All the elders had to agree.
Right.
And that wasn't something simple to do.
That's right. That's right.
You had to impress them. You had to bring something to the table that wasn't already here.
Right.
So in my years, once I was sired, because at the time I was a college student, I started putting things together. Put the black veil, all the literature that we had back in the day. You had pieces, all over the place, and you had to kind of pull it in. What I did was I took pieces and I compiled it into almost like a scrapbook. I showed my sire, one day what I was doing, and he was impressed. Because at the time, all we had was literature by Father Sebastian, we had literature by Michelle Belanger, but in terms of written content, that's all we really had. We didn't have much, depicting what was going on here in New York. That evolved over time into now what's the Gotham Vampire Archives.
Okay.
It's already going on its 3rd edition, which is pretty much a collection of biographies, house histories, Halo history, all coming into one. It's kind of an encyclopedia, if you will, of Gotham. And I've pretty much networked with all the elders, all the houses to contribute. In the beginning, not a lot of people wanted anything to do with it because it had the stigma of Todd tried to do this already. Not going to happen. It wasn't until the first one was already done and out there that people were like, oh, he actually did it. Now they jumped on board. So now going into the 3rd edition, this is pretty much going to be the final edition the way it is now. Because the book,
through the transitions, is your Ankh changing as the progression goes on?
in terms of the Ankhs, how Sabretooth-MacPhee founded their Ankh. Actually, one of your own designed the Ankh, Raziel.
Raziel, sir, we love you. You know that, boy. All right.
The Ankh was commissioned, and then from there, that was my house Ankh, the house that I belonged to. Years later, MacPhee and Omega created Clan Elysium, which was kind of a going back to the original Clan Sabretooth. We just went in a different name direction, but it was still the same template. At that point, I realized, well, the history of Sabretooth and the history of Gotham stemmed from Sabretooth. At the time, the Ankh was taken across seas and Father Sebastian was doing what he wanted to do with it. We needed something to kind of call our own. The man that created it, Lord D. Drennan,
respect,
put something forth for this halo, for us. So I asked Father Vincent what he would think if I would recreate the Sabretooth Ankh in a new way. So at the point that Elysium was created, I went to Father Vincent. I asked him, listen, Vincent has always been the founding father that has kind of stayed out of the shadows, well, rather in the shadows, and out of media attention and things of that nature. So all people see on TV is a certain somebody. And the sigil that started here is now being blanketed across everybody.
Syndicated.
Exactly. And that's not what this sigil was supposed to mean in the beginning. So I had an idea to take the original sigil, modify it, bring it into a modern day context, and have it be a tribute to Father Vincent, to D. Drennan, to the original elders that created the community. Because the community was created by Father Sebastian, but it was made by Father Vincent, it was made by D. Drennan, it was made by Big Bruce, Big John, Stilo, all these old school names.
Stilo, Big Bruce, yeah, that's strong.
You know, and they've never been given credit for that work. Not one person could take the credit of creating what we have now. The idea was a certain somebody's, but the creation of that was all-inclusive. He gave me the approval. I went to my jeweler that I've been working with for 10 years. He loved the idea. He was like, give me a week. Within a week, he did the wax work, and it's what you see here. And as you can tell, it's bigger, it's thicker, and a lot of the detailing is more pronounced. That, in order to get one of these, you got to be endorsed by 2 elders. You have to read the mission statement, which tells you the history, going all the way back to Sabertooth, how it's connected. And people, you got to be able to attach your lineage to that. Just the way it was in the beginning. In order to get an original Sabertooth, that's what you had to do. You got to get endorsed. And so that's pretty much how that goes. Years later, after being in House Sabertooth-MacPhee, my sire decided to close his house. Upon the closing of that house, I had a strong group of my children, my own bloodline, which when I was ascended to elder, my sire pretty much told me that I had to create my own bloodline. I didn't want it. I didn't want a bloodline. I didn't want a house. I was perfectly content being where I was. But he told me every elder has to have ownership of something that belongs to them. That was my bloodline. So I created the Asura bloodline, which in Sanskrit means guardian. It means titan.
Sanskrit.
Yeah, in Sanskrit. That's what that word means. When my firstborn child was elevated to elder, I threw it on him. I threw him co-ownership of the bloodline because I already saw the writing on the walls. There was a certain amount. At some point I was going to be forced to open up my own house, regardless if I wanted to or if I didn't. So preparing, I naturally overthink everything and I plan ahead. I tend to play human chess and I think 3 and 4 steps ahead of the curve. So when my sire closed the house, he was shocked to realize how prepared we were to open up my own house. I had my paperwork already in order. I had the Ankh design already done. All that was missing was sending the Ankh design to the jeweler to have it done. And that's what you see now on my neck.
Can you get into some of the detail, like describe some of the detail and why you put some of the
Well, we have 3 lions sitting on top. The side lions are Fu lions, Chinese lions, and the center lion is what you'll normally see a lion.
Are you a Leo?
No. My sire is a Leo. And the house that I came from, we picked up the reputation of being lions of Gotham. So that's where the lions come in. And the lion actually comes from Sabertooth. Once you get a close-up of the Ankh, the middle lion has the Sabertooth fangs. So it's a nod to the clan Sabertooth that we all come from, traditional-wise. The double blade, my sire's an Orion. His sire's Father Vincent. That Ankh has double blades. So there's a lot of symbolism in terms of our lineage and where we come from.
I could respect. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece.
Thank you.
So before you even found the scene, is there anything that told you that you was kind of different from anybody else? Did you? What was? What was?
I knew I was always the oddball, the black sheep in the family. Any Halloween, I was a vampire for Halloween. I grew up in the martial arts. My father trained me, and being very energy sensitive since day one, I realized there was something going on. And I just didn't have a label until later on in life. When I came into the scene, what I did realize over time is the havens, the parties, the social aspects of the community. I realized what was going on. I was standing in a hunting ground. A haven is a hunting ground.
Yes.
all the energy that's collected. You know, you have people on the dance floor seeing Lord Lestat in the DJ booth, going into a trance kind of state as he's mixing. You know, just observing all of this, I realized real quick, this is not a party. This is a hunting ground.
Yes, yes.
And I realized real quick what that meant. You know, and that's something that a lot of people nowadays, they don't understand. They'll see, we want the parties back. We want this, we want that. Without realizing what was going on behind the parties, behind the music, behind the dancing. Yeah, we all had kick-ass time. We all drank, had a great time. But the feeding that was going on behind that is something you really need to be awakened to understand.
And, you know, I'm glad that you even brought that up as far as the feeding and things like that. And as far as the party atmosphere and things like that. You know, there was different functions. Master Stilo, his party was the Funhouse, which was a fantastic, fantastic event. Now, within these different parties, we also had greetings. So, is that still, do people greet each other the way they used to, or is that dissipated also?
It takes people that know the tradition and the history to perpetuate that forward. I'm very big on tradition and details of it. So yes, I do use the traditional greeting and I teach the traditional greeting. If we don't teach it, it'll die. And a lot of people don't understand the silliness of how certain things were actually established, but all silly stories turn into a meaningful lesson. You know, the greetings that we have, the way we interact, all have very silly, humble beginnings, but it turned into something with great meaning. And that has to be perpetuated forward, because if not, it's gonna die.
See, I could sit here all day and honestly talk.
Oh yeah,
to be honest with you.
Back and forth,
yeah, we can go back and forth, especially the way, you know, your background is martial arts. The meditation. Are you into the meditational aspect and things like this?
Of course.
I'm into the meditational aspect, and you know, I mean, I'm energy sensitive also. You know, so yeah, we relate to with a lot of things. You know, and I didn't know that until this interview. So thank you again, sir, for
welcome.
definitely interviewing.
Definitely, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes. One more thing I wanted to ask before we go, and this you know, Shaolin has brought up martial arts, and I should have put 2 and 2 together with Shaolin. Of course, I'm falling off. So, what form of martial arts did your father instruct in your genes? Because I also have martial arts in my genes. It's in my blood pool.
Right.
So, what form of martial arts you have?
My father trained me in Chinese Goju.
Us.
Yes.
My father trained me in Japanese Goju.
To be honest, I didn't know there was a Chinese Goju. I thought it was only USA Goju.
Us.
The fist.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a Goju fist?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay. Damn.
This tattoo has all the symbolisms of all the styles I've studied.
Us.
I got Japanese Ketsugan back here. Southern Shaolin with the lion, Chinese Goju, and then 7-star praying mantis.
Yes. That's respect. That's good energy, man. So let me show you off my tattoo. So my tattoo, this is, now what I'm going to get. Now this is what I'm going to get. Yes, welcome back to the Rave of Dark. Rave?
Rave of Dark.
Rave. We have a Lord here. Lord. Alright, one more time.